Boys, what did we think of this episode?
I loved it. I absolutely adored it. I enjoy anything that requires the world to be destroyed, but it's concise. Like, it was for the first time they gave us a full rounded story. I didn't feel like there was anything rushed. Well, that wasn't the first time because Killmonger was the first time. But they finally got the consistency of like, hey, let's connect the dots and actually not rush this process as if it's like as if we have to just ignore it because it's what if. They were like, no, we're gonna give it to you all. And I hope that this episode, though initially I thought it was gonna be like Gamora and then the story of Ultron, but I had a feeling the origins of Ultron was gonna come from it. So I don't know how we're gonna bring Gamora into this, and almost wonder what would be the point of it. But I mean, I absolutely adored this episode. Absolutely adored it.
I loved it, especially because of the fact that, when we were starting to watch What If, I had a feeling that it's all going to be tied up together somewhere in the end, that it's all connected. And they just showed it. Like, wow! Yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of minutes of the last scene from the Thor party one kind of gave it away a little bit that this was coming together like this with good old Vision, Ultron Vision, who becomes mega powerful.
Which is
what are you learning? What are we learning more about Ultron here that we didn't learn in the second Avengers film?
I mean, I think for one, it's nice to be able to get the Ultron that we had initially wanted. I mean, though, I will say again, after WandaVision, went back and watched Avengers 2, and Ultron was still the Age of Ultron. Avengers 2: Age of Ultron was actually a much better movie than when it was presented at its time. But that being said, it was nice to get the Ultron that was actually intimidating and that they had presented in the commercials when they were marketing it for once.
Not
and
the
then on
funny.
Top of that, we were able to not that annoying, funny, quippy aggravation nonsense, but more of that. You're able to feel the tension, like you want the tension.
Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
But that was the one thing that I took from that, and then just being able to see the extension of what it would be if he had gotten that, and also how powerful he becomes with Vision, which would have made him, as we see, basically unstoppable.
So he's able to cut Thanos straight in half. Like Thanos turns up, hey, nice to meet you. Zoop.
That was so funny. I was dying. I was like, yo, this man didn't even get a chance. He didn't even get a chance. He was just like, yo, I'm gonna walk.
Not a word.
Why didn't Vision do that? Why didn't Vision do that in the end game? Sorry, Infinity War.
I mean, clearly that's why they had to hurt him. Like that's why they had to hurt Vision early on, or else it would have just been too one-sided. And that's why, like Vision, they hurt him to the point where he couldn't heal, which also didn't make full sense because, again, you're a synthezoid. So it's like there wouldn't have made sense for him to be injured. But of course, if Vision was available, he could have ghosted into Thanos, killed him. He could have cut Thanos, killed him. He could have, it would have been a perfect hand-to-hand combat, better than the Hulk. But it also speaks to the factor that if Doctor Strange had simply just did the teleportation portal on Thanos' arm, would have cut.
Yeah. There we go. That's when you got so many heroes, you can do so many things. There's probably a zillion ways that the Avengers could have won the Infinity War, but they had to kind of put some things in that little blind
plot armor towards
that nobody knows.
Right. You got a plot order towards the main character, and the main character in Infinity War was Thanos.
He was the man. He stepped up. So we've got our two little. We got Hawkeye and we've got Black Widow, kind of trampling along, a bit like two little hobbits. So the big, nasty, world-destroying, dimensional-destroying Force, which is Ultron, Vision with the Infinity Stones, is destroying everything. You got these two little characters, Hawkeye and Black Widow, kind of going through libraries in Russia, trying to get what's his face? What's his Zola?
Arnim Zola.
Who's still tucked away in that TV after all these years.
Inside the bunker. But I mean, that's it was nice to be able to get that rehash, and that I guess to speak to that is it was enjoyable to be able to see the Watcher in his full form having to interact, but it did leave me, even though the trying to get to Zola and trying to find the folder, it left me back to that stage of like, I thought the Watcher was more omnipotent than that, but clearly it seems to just look through specific mirrors. So while he has everything around him, it doesn't actually give him the ability to see everything at the same time.
He really wanted Hawkeye to grab that box.
Right.
You would have thought maybe he could have texted him, or he could have thrown a paper plane down there and said, "Oi, next box." But he couldn't, or he wouldn't. At some point in that, we've got to go back and watch it because I've only seen it once. At some point, he goes from sitting on the sidelines to just fully on getting into the game. And I guess if I remember correctly, it's Ultron who gets him off the bench.
I mean,
the game.
Whenever Ultron, like that scene, whenever Ultron turned around, like similar to how, I want to say evil Doctor Strange, but I don't know if he's like necessarily evil as much as traumatic Doctor Strange. There we go. Traumatic Doctor Strange, like could hear him. Like I guess if you hit a certain power level, you can hear through the dimensions. Yeah. And so like whenever Ultron heard that, and then he's like breaking through into the multiverse corridor, if you may, that's when pushes him out. Like you have to. You have to. It's either you have to fight it or you die. Yeah.
And a couple of moves.
That's actually what struck me when Ultron said you don't have the will. I think the Watcher has great will. Actually, not his will not to interfere with things makes him a very willful being in the universe.
Though I'm not gonna lie, part of me was like, "Yo, is that like a backhand to like DC with the Green Lanterns? Like, you don't have the will? Oh, I got the will. Boom, Green Lantern Corps, take your will."
You reckon they should do a multiverse, bring in the DC become an alternative universe in Marvel? Gosh, that would be an end times prophecy coming true, wouldn't it? As if that would ever happen.
Like Amalgam Comics.
Right.
And so we're stuck at the end of it, I guess, with two little plot lines happening. One is we've got Doctor Strange now teaming up with the Watcher. The Watcher kind of coming groveling. So the Watcher is in that little bubble. He put himself in that bubble with Doctor Strange to escape. Is that correct?
No, the Watcher didn't put him in there. Doctor Strange put himself in there because he can't. He wasn't jumping multiverses. But he destroyed that universe. That was all that was.
But then, how did the Watcher get into there?
Because he's been able to get. Remember, the Watcher was already there when it was crumbling around him. So basically, because he's able to, that's all the universe is. So he's able to jump in there. Also,
so he jumped in. To get some help, and Doctor Strange seemed rather pleased about that. He kind of a bit smug as he usually is. And on the other hand, I guess we still have Black Widow having said goodbye to Hawkeye. Reflecting that whole
Infinity War at whatever the place is. Yeah.
And we've still got her and Zola trying to figure out how they can link in. All they need to do really is link in with
Ultron Vision.
And they could bring the whole thing crashing down a bit like Achilles' heel, like.
Right.
That would be an interesting battle because you have two digital beings vying for control. Basically they're both programs. I wonder who has the better programming.
That's basically it. Because that's what we got whenever it was the Jarvis versus
Vision.
Jarvis versus Ultron initially.
So would it be a battle of intellects between the battle intellects between those two, between Zola and.
I don't know if the term it would be necessarily a battle of intellect, because I don't think they're going to be. It's not going to be like Vision versus what was it? Vision versus White Vision in WandaVision, which was a legitimate battle of intellect. I think this one is just a battle of ones and zeros, trying to figure out the best ones and zeros to take over.
Who's the biggest nerd?
Right.
Who's the better program?
Right.
So then the next question is:
Who's
if Zola,
the better Matrix?
If Zola wins, are things going to be any better? I don't know. It could be jumping.
I think that goes to the interesting case. Like, what happens if Zola takes over Vision with all the stones? You know.
Yes.
Well, you know, Zola is still essentially. He was originally human, so I think in his programming, he'd still have human wants and needs. So if he takes control, he's probably gonna go back and bring back people and the world and other sentient beings, except controlled by Hydra.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then you get like the storyline where Captain America is Hydra.
Captain Hydra. Yeah. Actually, that makes sense as to how they would bring that in, even though we'll never see it in live action since Chris Evans won't come.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Right.
Subscribe!
Die. Oh, die.